All right, welcome to Shop Talks, which is a production of Impressions Magazine. Impressions, who puts this show on, very generously give us this time and space to share knowledge. We've got our sponsor, Hanes. I'm from the Ink Kitchen, which is an online and other sources of information, try to bring people together to learn from each other. And Shop Talks is a natural evolution of our plan to do that and for world domination. So I'm really happy to have here Sergio Ramirez and Stan Banks. I'm gonna let you introduce yourselves, actually, maybe give a little bit of your history, how you got here, and what you're doing now, and then we'll get into the topic at hand, which is how to do effective YouTubing.
Sure. So, hello, my name is Sergio Ramirez. I brand myself as Video Marketing Beast. I'm originally from the film industry, but I got into the print industry about 6 to 7 years ago. I'm now with Supercolor. I'm doing their social media, helping them with their content creation. I also work with Stan, helping him with his YouTube content creation, as well as dialing in his marketing for YouTube. So yeah, that's pretty much who I am.
And I'll just say how I met Sergio is we were at a conference, and he just seemed to be sitting there, and then all of a sudden he showed me a video that was like captured the whole.
He put together.
2 days,
he put together like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
And like
put
the
it
same
together
day.
in no time, and it was like, oh my God, this looks like an Academy Award-winning thing, and he just did it like while I wasn't even watching. Anyway, Stan, what's your history? How'd you get here? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm Stan Banks from T-Shirt Side Hustle. I help people start T-shirt businesses from home. I'm a YouTuber. I started in 2017. Somewhere in the next couple of months, I'll cross 100,000 subscribers. And I'm also a consultant to a lot of companies here in the industry with their marketing, doing different things like that to scale and to get in front of the right audience and stuff like that.
All right, so everybody wants to be on YouTube. Everybody wants to do social media. Everybody wants to make effective videos. There is just a lot of crap out of there, really a lot. And so for companies, whether it's a vendor here or a screen printing, decorating company, what have you, let's hear what people could do to do it better.
I think I'll start. So the first thing is not to overcomplicate what's going on, right? You got to start where you are, what you have. And you're not going to see value if you don't do it, if you're not putting your best foot forward. So simple as having a cell phone can change your business, right? And not in a sense of now I'm an influencer and I have a YouTube following or anything like that. Well, I want to talk to you guys about how you can use it for your business. And it's just to turn the camera on and start filming, right? And I think in a second, we're going to get into some more detail, like ideas that you can do and how you can approach it. But don't complicate the process. Use what you have, and then once you see some value, some traction, because if you put it out consistently, you'll start to see some traction and value. And once you see that, then you can decide if you want to invest in some better equipment to put out better quality. I think everything that I've built, and I have a local-based print shop myself, everything that I built, my content came off of a cell phone. And I didn't overcomplicate the process. I didn't do any editing. I didn't do anything like that. I just put the content out, and then over time, it grew, and I did it consistently.
Yeah, touching on that, I mean, if I wanted to get the quality that these phones can shoot at now, back in the day I had to spend like at least $1,000, get a lens, I had to get an editing program. Now it's all within your palm. So with that being said, you can be creating some of the greatest content there is out there using just your phone. I mean, you don't need to be super produced, you don't need to have anyone that anyone knows. And you'd be surprised that the fact that UGC or user-generated content, which is anything that's self-shot or shot amateur, is always going to do better than anything produced, which is really weird, but it's the truth.
So you seem to have a balance between the two, actually. So you like professional training, but it does look like it maybe comes more from your heart or whatever you want to say. How do you manage that? How does that come about, do you think?
It's kind of a project-to-project basis, but in all reality, it's all about the first 5 seconds, because now we're in that ADHD era where you got to beat that first 5 seconds. Otherwise, people are going to scroll away, or they're just going to completely close out. So with that being said, you got to open every video with a bang, no matter what it is. If it's shot on your own, or if you have a whole team, like a production team, just make sure that those first 5 seconds are captivating. Because if you're going to turn that into a video ad later on, you don't have to decide that now, but say you want to turn that into a YouTube ad later on, and you want to beat that 5 second counter where it's like skip ad. That's the way you're going to beat it.
You know, I don't know about this because I think you just gave the whole kingdom away here. So I think we could just leave.
I got a lot of gold.
5 minute shop talk. No, I almost want you to say it again. That's so important. Actually, it seems like a lot of people make that mistake. Yeah.
No, yeah. You'll see a lot of videos that it'll open the first 5 seconds. It's a logo. And it's like, unless people don't know what the logo is, they're not going to care. So in those 5 seconds, they're already going to close it out. They're going to be like, I don't know who this is. So that being said, yeah, make sure that you're making your videos as impactful from the very beginning as possible. And you'll even see that in Stan's videos too. Once he opens his videos, it's an automatically, he's doing an intro. Hey, what's up? This is Stan Banks with T-Shirt Side Hustle. And in this video, we're going to talk about this. And then he goes into his intro.
I actually don't say my name first. I tell you what you about to watch. But yeah, but the idea is there's, you got to grab attention right away. You know, and getting into short form content, I made my first like reel, I was call it, the other morning. It is very, very different than what I'm used to, but it'll give you a chance to become visible, and the attention span of people on the phone is so short. So what Sergio was saying is 100% correct. You got to get straight to the point, you know, and I think that's what ultimately gave me traction. And what I do now is I didn't give you any fluff. I wasn't trying to talk and just talk. I was out to just teach you something right now, and you can do the same thing in your business. And I think that's where I want to go next. I'm trying to like steal in the show. Rick usually guides the conversation, but for an idea, right? We typically in our business, we just show our work. We post a picture of our work. We might video a part of the work, but how can you draw your customers in to do one of three things, right? The first thing is to see what you're doing, right? To see how they want to also then 2, see how dedicated you are. But 3, I think all of you guys should be using video to let people know how to work with you. That is the hidden gem in this whole thing. If I didn't leave you guys with anything, show people how not to be your headache. If you can do that on social media through video, that's taking your frequently asked questions and turn them into content. You know, hey, if you do puff printing, well, what is puff printing? Or how much is puff printing? All of these questions that you get, you can make content and say, puff printing is this. Here's it is. This is what it looks like. You can come out and say, you want to know about puff printing? Look at it, right? You got the picture of it. You say puff printing in the first 5 seconds. Then you can go to the process of screen print it. When it goes through the dryer, you can add all the boring details at the end. So figuring out how to show people how to work with your business better to alleviate the questions that come to your door is the way that I feel like everybody here should be using video and content overall to build up their base.
You know, it's funny you say that because on the front end it helps you. It can help you on the back end. I know my friend Jacob Edwards, he would have videos about different processes, and so for like sublimating on an existing shirt would show you, and like you're going to get these white lines. Someone gets their shirt afterwards and tries to complain about that, and they told you to look at the video about the process. They kind of can't ask for their money back. Right. So it helps on the back end as well. So besides getting the first 5 seconds right, any other tricks about like creating the content so it's more watchable, more engaging, people want to spread it more?
No, yeah, definitely. A lot of the pretty much the number one rookie mistake a lot of people will make in YouTube is they'll just turn on the camera and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to talk and I'll see what I get out of this. The most cohesive way to make a good video is first write down bullet points of what you want to talk about, and most importantly, know what your viewers want to do by the end of the video. Do you want them to subscribe to you? Do you want them to fill out a lead form? Do you want them to buy a t-shirt from your shop?
Call to action. Have
it's
a call to action.
It's going to be all about that. So that's what you want to determine before the fact, so that once you get to filming, you know that each bullet point you're working toward a goal that you can then send these people to.
So it's almost like a storyboard or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. So even though I don't expect you guys to be a professional storyboard artist or a screenwriter, but it's just basic bullet points like, oh, I have my intro, I want to talk about this, and this is the ending. I want to make sure I say this so that my viewer subscribes, buys, or fills out a lead form, contact form. So
I guess if you're organized on the front, then you don't have to edit so much in the back either. Is that probably true?
You'd be surprised. There's always editing going on, but it's a lot more helpful once it's completely organized, because otherwise you could be sitting on maybe like 20 plus minutes of footage and you're like, oh, just sitting in the editing room and you're just overwhelming yourself, not knowing what to do. You're like, oh, I should hire an editor instead, when at that point you could have just not stressed yourself and instead cohesively wrote out what you wanted to do ahead of time.
So that video that you showed me when we were at that conference, like what was your process? Because you really didn't know what was going to happen, did you?
Yeah, no, I've never been to Chicago. So with that being said, Ram, the president over at Supercolor USA, he was talking to me that he wanted me to capture the feel of the city while also inspiring the inner hustler of every screen printer. So with that, I was just kind of just thinking like, what is this going to take? So it's really for that part of me at that point, I'm making a shot list. So I'm thinking visually versus the story.
You want to do it intentionally, right? And I think that's what he's getting at with the script and stuff like that. I still do that myself. And I really do it now. I'm kind of like, I've gotten so good at what I do, and I'm so into my system that I can think it out and not have to write it and put it in front of me. But every once in a while, if I have somebody on camera with me, I'll tape 5 bullet points to the screen where the camera is or the tripod, so that it's right there, and I can flow, and it doesn't look like I'm looking off or thinking off on the side, or as that person's talking, they can kind of follow what's going on throughout this thing. So by doing it intentionally, you allow yourself to be concise about your messaging and everything like that. So you plan it out, what the call to action is, what the flow of what you're going to talk about is. Again, going back to what I said earlier, it's about now it becomes, how can I make content to make people work with me more, right? By first taking all of your frequently asked questions and turn that into video. The next thing is like, how do I grow in what I'm doing? And that becomes about how can you highlight your customers, right? Because nobody wants to be first. So when he talks about UGC, it's user-generated content. How can I put out content to make other people put out content? How can I make what I'm doing cool? And if you can do that through how you share your work, how you show stuff, what type of pictures you post, all of that stuff is gonna have people give you back some content. They're gonna tag you in it. You encourage them to tag you in it. You encourage them to post and, hey, post this, tag us. Maybe the next time you'll win X, Y, and Z. And you think about giving away a small discount or something like that. And what that'll allow you to do is to get user content, right? Because people out here making great content on your behalf in this case. And if you're able to take that content and just share it out, you can make it a cool thing to happen. And once you start sharing stuff, the next customer like, man, you ain't sharing my stuff. You didn't repost my stuff, and you can make it a thing, especially in within this industry. Is like, you did a job last week for a football team on the weekend. You go out and you film and you do some stuff with your cell phone just to show your product if you have time, right? But the next time you share that and you bring them some attention to your customers and stuff like that, the next time you won't have to go. And I always give this analogy, like if I take a selfie in the bathroom or bathroom pic like everybody does, and I post it on the internet under my business, what type of pictures or photos do you think I'll get back? I'll get selfies back from my customer because they see me posting and sharing that. But if you give them some stuff or you show them some stuff that looks well produced, I'm not saying well produced like Sergio edited it, but I'm saying like well produced like somebody's making a TikTok the way that these people are really, really talented in doing and showing your shirt. It may even have nothing to do with your business, but I made that shirt that you have on in that photo, and I know we all get that feeling. So if I show the work the way I want it to be seen, I'll get that back, and then your work becomes less. So you got your educational piece, and then you got your UGC piece, which is their customers making content on your behalf because you made them a garment, and you're sharing it out into the world, and they want you to share because you're able to grow your audience and help them gain more visibility.
You covered a lot of ground. To go back to the beginning, seems like both of you are saying, in some way, a lot of this stuff, if you check out Stan's YouTube channel or Sergio's work, it seems very natural, both of it, and authentic. And it seems like they just, it comes out. So it's kind of good, I think, to see that really that naturalness comes from preparation. So it doesn't look rehearsed, but it's very prepared. It takes a lot of preparation to act like you're doing it spontaneously.
You don't have to be memorizing a whole script, but being prepared is everything.
Yeah. So when it comes to
being prepared,
when it comes to being prepared, like my first videos, they were horrible. I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have the right video angle. I was propping my phone up on whatever I could find, some boxes around the shop, some T-shirts to get the angle and tilting and falling forward. I didn't have, what I have now, but it only came in time. So to go back, don't overcomplicate it. Just get started. Just share it. The best thing about social media is there's a delete button. So, if as you get better in time, you get more practical, you start trying, you start doing it, it'll become better. And then you can delete. I can't name how many times I go to a company and, they're just sharing like photos of, the product. They're just sharing photos. And I say, well, what does my brand look like? What do you wanted to say? Do you have the intentions on inspiring somebody? Is your intentions to answer people's questions? And they have no idea. They're just posting a product. But if you come out with some intentions, like we talked about earlier, you'll be able to hit home the first time and kind of get the idea of where you want to go. And then over time, your content will elevate and get better over time.
Start by starting.
You don't have to be great to start, but you got to start to be great.
Yeah. I knew you were going to one-up me on that one. Any other tips on like people trying to assemble video content in terms of maybe length or other tricks to make it come out better?
I do have a tip for length in terms of like if you're shooting long form content and you're uploading that to YouTube, YouTube transcribes that for you. I don't know if anyone knew that, but there's literally an entire transcription written out of what you've said in the video. So what you can then do at that point is take all that content, you can turn it into a blog, you can turn it into a brand new video, you can turn it into a quote, you can post it on your Instagram, post it on your TikTok, so on and so forth. So with that's just what I think is a really cool tool for them to be able to use.
The tip I have is to follow other shops, right? And like Brett was here earlier. He has a great shop. He makes some good content. And look at the type of stuff that they're making. There's a shop in Philadelphia that just posted some stuff. They're doing some educational stuff. What was the name of that shop? You remember? Anyway, there's a shop that is making great content. So look at the ideas and stuff and the way that they're putting out content, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go out and you can do the similar stuff and put out similar styles of content. Show how much you enjoy it. Show how much your employees enjoy working with you or working for you rather, right? And by doing this, people feel connected. Like when I was in college, I come up with a design company and I started a design company. I'm trying to feel like it's not just me. I'm just not just me and I was not in college. I got this big brand, I got this big company. I come up with this extravagant name, SB Design, right? But it looks corporate, it looks clean, it just looks perfect. Today, people want to work with people. They want to know who they're working with. And if you can put some personality and you can show the people who are your typical customer, the type of people that you attract will naturally be drawn to you. They'll naturally be drawn to your flow, your employees, their culture. I think culture is something that is slept on. If you can pull some of that stuff out through video, you'll find that, that attracts more people. Hey, I love to work with you. The reason I picked you is because man, I can just tell how much you guys enjoy it. Like you're always peppy in video, and it doesn't have to necessarily be the way it always is, but at least when it comes across on video, this is what you got to show your clients and customers so that they know and they get a feel for who you are and what your values are, and the ones who have the similar values in content, similar values in what you do, they'll kind of gravitate towards you.
So change the pace here a little bit. So beyond just what phone you happen to have, any tricks
wait. Get an iPhone 13. I wholeheartedly believe now. I was going to actually invest in a bunch of camera equipment, and now with the what you get out of a DSLR, I know some Androids. I don't want to get into the Android iPhone argument, but if you have an iPhone and you don't have an iPhone 13, it is worth the investment because they have now the cinema mode where it'll blow out the background. It'll make it look really, really good. He can tell you about the frames per second and all of that stuff, how to make it look super smooth, but you'll be surprised that now with the new phone, how much quality you can get out of it and how you can make it look like it was overly produced with some $2,000 camera and a $1,500 lens and some vigorous setup that you may have had, but it's really just off of an iPhone.
It's funny, actually, earlier, I was realizing what a dinosaur I am. You were like, yeah, you used to, for $2,000 have to spend to get like decent video. And I was like, I used to help somebody make videos. It was a $25,000 JVC camera that looks like shit compared to now. You know, like things have changed rapidly in the last 25 or 30 years. So beyond, and there's some pretty good phone cameras no matter what. What would the next steps be to improve the quality in terms of like tripod, sound, lights, et cetera? Where do people go after that?
I want to touch on sound especially, because I've seen some really nice looking videos, but you can barely hear what people are saying. So if you invest in sound, that content, once you're talking, that's what's going to be the most important over everything. So if you can invest in a good wireless lavalier mic, there's even some that connect directly into phones. That's something that you can definitely use.
My friend Jim McKay is a pretty famous film director. That's almost word for word. Like the sound. You know, when you're flipping through TV and you're like, that's a shitty movie, it's the sound that you usually hear, 2 words, and you know it's
totally,
crappy.
yeah.
And then how about beyond sound? What else is helpful then after
Beyond
that?
sound, like Stan said, a tripod will go a long way. You know, you can prop up your phone, prop up your camera on stuff. That's only going to go so far. But when you need that actual angle that's going to be pointing down on your manual press or your DTG printer or whatever it is that you're running at the time that you need to get footage of, that's when the tripod's going to come in handy. Even this guy back here, if you look, in order to get that shot above the whole crowd, he had to get on a tripod. I mean, you see I'm not propping it up on anything. So yeah, tripod, sound, I think you're good at that point. And then you would start moving into maybe looking at some lighting.
Lights. Right, especially for product shooting, probably the lights help a lot.
Oh yeah,
right?
lights is great. And then you can find relatively inexpensive lights now, especially in LED. I mean, before, if you wanted like a good LED light like this, it was way more expensive. Again, prices have gone down. It's way more accessible to get into shooting your own video and producing. So yeah.
Any other tips? Like, what have you added on since you're, you know, putting your camera on a box?
Oh man, I don't have any equipment. I just use my phone. But no, I think
You got a tripod now.
Yeah, I always have tripods. I get them from Five Below. You know, just pick them up. But I think the piece of advice that I'll add is, you know, if you're intimidated by video, you know, there's a kid around you that would love to take over, and they understand the world in its entirety of where it's going and how it should be done and all of that good stuff. And, you know, if it's a nephew, if it's a niece, you know, a few bucks will go a long way, right? And I think when it comes to making content, if you can give your customer something that they can share, if you invest into it, you get this equipment and stuff like that, you share it, that's awesome. But if you can create something, some type of way that your customer can take and say, you know what, you got a clothing brand I'm printing for you, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do your product photography. I invested in lights, I invested into the camera, I invested into all this stuff. I'm gonna give my clients who come to me and print, I'm gonna give them the perfect, they don't have to use a Photoshop mock-up that doesn't look realistic. I invested in all of this stuff and I give it to the customer. Maybe what starts out is for free, right? And now that is another piece of something that can differentiate you from going to somebody else. Well, I'm gonna go to Stan's screen print shop because not only is he gonna print my shirt and do amazing work, because we all compete on quality, right? Like, I'm gonna give you the best work possible with a great turnaround time. That's every screen print shop's talk, right? And that's just natural. But overall, what is gonna be a differentiating factor for your shop, right? And when you talk about making content, whether that's video, if you can put together some type of clip or some type of highlight for them as a brand, you can provide them a service through the same stuff that we're talking about. As you share it, you give them something that they can share, and now it provides you something that'll allow you to take on more work, because they're just gonna come to you, and it may be $1 cheaper or $1 more expensive than the other guy, but the other guy isn't going the extra mile to give them a product shot that they can use and not have to go invest in it down the line for themselves.
Sergio, any tips for adding graphics or editing? Like, how can people get into that, you know, after they shoot it?
I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff you can do, but first and foremost, if you have absolutely no editing experience, the built-in editor that's on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, so on and so forth, that's going to be awesome for anything you need it to do. And even if you have an iPhone, they have the free app iMovie. Like with that, you could just choose what clips you want, and it'll even assemble a video for you. And all you do is you just edit the timings or the order of certain clips that you want. So that's super awesome. And then if you get to a point where you need an actual editor, that's where you can start looking on Fiverr, on Upwork.
All right, I think I'm going to open it to questions. Any questions out there? All right, so the question is, you want to make videos for your business, but you're not comfortable on camera yourself. Isn't that why they make Valium? Anyway.
Yeah. So I think I get this question a lot, right? It's like, well, I want to do this.
You have that problem, right?
Not at all. And it came. I didn't have proper speech. I always said and all right. I had the same things that everybody else has. But the first thing I did, I put the content out, and I just took what came with it, right? But if you're doing stuff for your business, you don't necessarily have to be in front of the camera, right? Like, to hold a camera up and say, hey, you guys want to know about puff printing? I'm going to show you a puff printing on a shirt right here. I don't have to necessarily be in front of the camera to do that, right? And now you talk about your hands and pulling the squeegee and all of that stuff, or the angles and stuff like that that you can use. You don't necessarily have to be on camera to do this, right? Now, if you have a personality, that adds another factor, because if you're in front of the camera, now they become connected to you as a person. But I see a lot of great content that doesn't feature a person. They walk up and they show the screen print process. They get an angle. I do my reels this way. I throw my shirt on the heat press. I throw my print on there. I make it all pretty. I do it. I show the shirt. I peel it. I do all of that stuff, and I'm never on camera. And I think these are like my best performing pieces of content. Really, really short, really straight to the point, but sharing the journey and sharing what you're making and showing people, hey, doing something as simple as, hey, Mary, these graduation shirts that you ordered already, right? What is she gonna do if you tag her in that on Instagram? She's gonna put on her story. And now how many people do you become exposed to, and you're not even in the video, right? So these are things that you can do. I think we're overcomplicating it in our mind because we think video, I gotta be a news anchor, I gotta be in front of the camera holding the mic, and I gotta do certain things. But ultimately, how do you make shareable content? I don't think, I never had a viral video. So I'm not a person that says I'm gonna make this viral piece of content. But overall, how can I make something that my customer will share, right? And the ideas that I just gave you guys, they may not share the frequently asked questions. That's just gonna make my life easier. But they will share the shots of the product that I got. They will share a story if I say, hey, your shirts are done, and look at them, they look so awesome. Man, I'm so glad you chose us, and don't you think these look great? Don't you think they'll share that stuff? And you don't have to be in the video at all.
If I can touch on that real quick.
Oh, what about your voiceover stuff from Fiverr?
Oh, man. Yeah, especially Fiverr. Again, Fiverr, you can get voiceover people on Fiverr or Upwork. No, but touching on that, say if you don't want to get in front of the camera, TikTok or Instagram Reels, that's a great solution for that, because you already have a sound that you can use. You don't have to be in front of the camera, and they don't have to hear your voice at all, but you can still make an entertaining, cohesive piece that either illustrates what you do in your business or kind of gets your brand recognition out there. Because the fact of the matter is that, a lot of us got used to watching videos this way, but the future of consumers, they're watching it this way now. So once you start making really cool videos that way, you can equally put those on YouTube Shorts, which is YouTube's competitor to TikTok and Reels, and you'd be surprised that there's 90 billion daily followers that are on there watching this stuff. So if you're making just a simple TikTok and you're like, hey, I'm just gonna throw this on YouTube Shorts, that's gonna open up your channel to exposing yourself to all these people.
Show that horizontal vertical thing. I think that was,
like
it's
that,
going that
like
way,
that.
right?
Yeah, you
that
want to go
in the
like
first
that.
5 seconds, I think that's all we really had to say here.
And if you make a 5-second video like that, no, I'm just kidding.
Other questions?
You mentioned shooting around your company.
All right, so the question is, we all have something different to offer, our own different company culture. What about that?
Yeah, so I think we've implemented this where Sergio is at over at Supercolor, where it's like, the standard for us is this Supercolor, right? It's our culture and define it by pillars. So your company culture could be, an event that you do, the shirts that your employees wear, celebrating something that they do, right? And it's just giving it that personal feel. And maybe you don't want to be in video, but you have no problem featuring one of your customers who's perfectly fine on video. That person become a personality, but how can you spread that throughout your company, right? So thinking about, let's say I want to make a commercial for my business. How can I include 5 people? or I'm going to do this frequently asked questions to show the process of a shirt. Hey, meet Rick. He works in a screen room. He's going to show you how to prepare a screen. You know, hey, meet Sergio. He's a print press operator, and he's going to show us the details about how he lines up a screen. And, you know, just like using people to tell the story of whatever it is that you scripted, or not necessarily scripted, but you mapped out in your mind that you want to share. Being able to include different people, and they meet people who are making the garments and stuff like that, it's the same thing as them sharing. Like, man, you know, you could become a celebrity. This person become a celebrity because somebody will just see that person, they'll hear how they're talking about the process, and like, man, I learned so much from Rick. You know, I knew nothing about making a screen or why I got minimums. He's making 8 screens for this next job that he has to do. And this is why it costs so much, because look at all of the stuff that he has to do to get your job ready. You know what I mean? So including some of your employees and different things like that, if that's an option for you, will be a great thing to show it's culture, it's people who are working for you and stuff like that, all in one of a sort.
To put these two questions together, I actually also realize that some people are shy in life, but are fine about being on video. Like, it's a different thing. I have a daughter who will hardly talk to anyone, but she'll play music in front of 500 people.
That's the whole world
and doesn't
now.
even care. So don't assume that some of your employees don't want to be on camera, because they might.
And let's say that if they don't want to be on camera, write out a cohesive list of what you want your culture to stand for. Kind of make bullet points. And when you're creating this video, instead, if you can't get anyone on camera, what you can then do is start getting visuals. Go on Google Images. There's a website called storyblocks.com, and there you can get a lot of different stock footage where you can literally look up motivation. It's going to show different people going, yay! You can pick whatever is going to fit best.
What's that website again?
Storyblocks.com. And you can get video, you can get audio. They also have stock photos on there too. So if you guys ever want to use that for designing stuff for a client, and when you're about to print stuff, that's also useful as well.
Cool. All right, other questions?
Video editor on your laptop.
The question is, what can you use on your laptop to video edit?
I still use iMovie. I'm a Mac person. I still use iMovie. I haven't upgraded, but Sergio would be able to tell you
I personally use Adobe Premiere Pro. It's kind of the industry standard. It's easy to pick up, and then what I like about Adobe is they'll include tutorials that'll show you how to use that program. So that's actually going to be really cool to use as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Other questions? Andy.
Can you speak to a time that a follower or your audience has helped grow your platform?
Oh, he wants to know if he wants you to speak to a time where a follower has helped you out.
Yeah, so how you handle like the person who hates you, right? Like the person whose job and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give you 2 examples. A person who has nothing but bad things to say with you, they're doing it on the internet, and how you can approach them and solve the problem and get them to recant or to go back on what they say, right? Because sometimes you don't even get a chance to address the person. They don't come back to you and say, man, this shirt was messed up. They don't give you a chance to make it right. So how you go back to that person and say, you know, hey, I see what you have to say, and I do all of this stuff. So that person of them becoming an ambassador for how you approach it. So for me, myself, one time I had a lady who, I think I told this at another show. I had a lady, I outsourced some shirts. They weren't gonna make it. And in my mind, she's so vocal about what happens. And I'm like telling her like, man, her daughter died. They're memorial shirts for the college, for the event she's having. And I basically was like, you know, hey, listen, you got to cut orders off on this day, and if you don't, I'm not going to be able to produce the extra shirts by the time that you need them. She kept taking orders, okay? So now we got into another issue. I'm like, man, I can't produce these orders by the time that you need them, and now I don't even know where the shirts are that are en route being shipped. So what I did was I called her up and I said, you know, I'm going to print the shirts in a different manner. I use Nina inkjet paper, not the way I designed the shirt to be produced. the customer doesn't care. We talked about that a lot. Doesn't care. But I was able to turn her negative into a positive, and now she's a person that will go throughout the lengths to make sure her job uses me, her friends use me. Hey, I got you another job. I got you another job. And now I like, hey, I'm gonna give you 30% off on your next order or anything like that, right? But then to talk about my platform and other things like that, like every last person that comes up to me and wants to take a picture is an opportunity for me to market, right? So this is where I talk about give people stuff that they can share. For me, being a YouTuber and being an influencer in the space, you can do that locally in your business. I became known by word of mouth as the guy to make shirts. Just the guy to make shirts, and I was known by my business card. So being able to provide a service to people and then give them something that they can share, all of your people, I believe you can have a 1,000-person marketing team taking care of one customer at a time. Give them something that they can be proud of, because I've never advertised. I flat out went on the internet and said, I make shirts, and then after I service a customer, they bring me more people and more people and more people.
I just thought of something. So the great thing about having access to the cameras we do and YouTube where you can publish stuff versus the old days is that you control at least your image and stuff. So before that, we would print for the Red Sox, and because I can put two words together, they would always come to my shop in Rhode Island. Oh, look, they're either going to print or they're not, and all this, and we'd be on TV all the time, like dozens and dozens of times. It's not that interesting, but in the context, I guess it was. So I'd meet people like, oh, you're the guy that prints the Red Sox shirts. We hardly do any sports printing, and I hate the fucking Red Sox, but I was the Red Sox guy. So at least with YouTube, you can control your own image. Other questions? Did you want to say anything about that in terms of followers, making or breaking what you do?
In terms of that, what I do want to say, something that was taught to me that I think would be useful for everyone here listening now is that don't market a service or a product, market a movement. And if you look at Supercolor, you'll see that this is something that we do heavily. We're all about our community, all about our super fam, and just be centric about what you can solve and not what you offer.
Interesting. Other questions? Any last words, or are we good? All right. So I want to thank Sergio Ramirez and Stan Banks. How about a hand for them? Really generous with your time and knowledge, and I know both of them. And if you're shy and didn't want to ask a public question, you can reach them after. I want to thank Hanes, our sponsor, Impressions Magazine, and the Ink Kitchen. And we got free content 3 days here. Come on by. Thanks a lot.